Now that the Mario Galaxy movie has been released, we'll be waiting a couple years before we can have any chance of seeing Donkey Kong on the big screen again. But what will that look like? Are they going all in on 90s nostalgia, or will they do a more modern iteration of DK's world? Who might they recruit for the voices? Will there be Crocs? Only time will truly tell. But in the meantime, put your speculation spectacles on and let's dive into what I think the Donkey Kong movie will be like.
The interesting thing about Seth Rogen being cast as DK in the Mario movie is that he has a pretty extensive history in production himself.
Point Grey Pictures is a company owned by Rogen and Evan Goldberg. Their partnership was formed in 2011 and they have a bunch of movies, documentaries, and TV shows under their belt. What's pertinent about their body of work is that they have helped create a few adaptations of other forms of media. Examples include The Boys, Invincible, and Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. I'm not particularly knowledgeable on these series to compare them to their original work, but I can say that the shows all have their shining moments. From what I can tell, critical and fan reception seems to be mostly positive. I find this impressive considering all the adjustments that were made to the characters and world of each of these properties in that transition. They struck a balance of making these works feel faithful and fresh at the same time. From casting to writing, I've been really impressed, specifically with Invincible and TMNT. I recently watched The Turtles with the whole family and man, I hope they bring some of that magic to Donkey Kong. While the role of production companies and producers can vary from project to project, Point Grey's writing on top of those regular production duties helped everything feel cohesive.
It remains to be seen if Rogen would be any more than an actor in the upcoming film, but he has a lot of leverage at the negotiation table.
I can see a world where Rogen wants to have a little more creative control and ownership in the movie. It wouldn't be a hard sell to have Point Grey assist with writing and directing given their track record of successful adaptation. They also helped craft the documentary version of The Console Wars, a book that covers the unveiling of Donkey Kong Country and the effect that it had on the battle between the Genesis and the Super Nintendo. That familiarity and enthusiasm for the series can go a long way in winning Nintendo over. Let's not forget that the very well-placed DK rap that graced the Mario movie was an idea that Rogen had in the recording booth. Now don't come after me in the comments. I think the Mario Bros. And Galaxy movies are fun to watch, but they are lacking in some of the fundamentals you would want in a film. They were designed to be a brisk theme park ride through the many worlds of Mario, carefully weaving in every attraction featured in the theme park along the way. I don't think that they are particularly bad movies, but they're not particularly good either. It is fine. If you squint hard enough, you can see character arcs forming, but they stuff so much into a 90 to 100 minute runtime that the whole thing ends up feeling undercooked. Mario and Donkey Kong developed a fun buddy cop type of rivalry, but there's not much time to breathe in the movie. They go from mortal enemies to buddies in like 15 minutes. There's a good story about the stress of your father's expectations, but there's not room to flesh it out because they have to hurry on to the next set piece. And before you type the comment, no, I don't want Mario movies to be this like deep and depressing piece on what the human existence is like, but you can do both. There's plenty of animated movies that are both silly and fun and also very good. Galaxy had a really interesting dynamic between Bowser and the Mario Bros, but I felt kind of robbed because it ends so fast. They bring things to a close, but the payoffs end up feeling a little hollow. I think there's just too much scope for the runtime. They either needed to reduce that scope or increase the runtime, but they flew a little too close to the sun on this one in my opinion. Not that it mattered commercially, however. Highest grossing video game adaptation of all time, 6th highest grossing animated film beating out Frozen. Galaxy's results remain to be seen, but I'm gonna guess that one will do some numbers as well.
The movies had two missions: make a boatload of money and promote the Mario brand. Mission accomplished.
They even shoved Donkey Kong and Star Fox in to promote those brands as well. I'm left wondering if they could have made a screenplay as compelling as Puss in Boots: The Last Wish or How to Train Your Dragon, and how much that would have helped with its financial prospects, but we'll never know that hypothetical. At this point, I'm just accepting it for what it is. It's a theme park ride within a film, and it's a lot of fun to experience with friends and family at least once. Truly the Taco Bell beefy 5-layer burrito of film.
I wish they could have tightened the script and scope to make a better film, but at this point, after the two movies, we kind of have to accept these films for what they are.
All that being said, I'd love for DK to have a little more meat on the bone. I also think it needs to. While DK is as old as Mario, the back catalog of games to reference is way smaller. They also mostly take place in the same sort of locations. Mario Galaxy had the plot flinging from Odyssey to World to Galaxy and even Super Mario Bros. 2. While the original Galaxy story is quite heartfelt and somber, the movie adaptation commits to the theme park model again. It works because there's so much inherent joy in seeing the many realms that we've bing wahooed through displayed on the big screen. I'm the most lukewarm, casual Mario enjoyer, but even I was hyped to see the giant frog from Subcon. Just kind of wish he had a point in the plot. Because Mario is so ubiquitous with its long history and 5,000 different games, we all have little callbacks to gawk at in the theater. That's all well and good for Mario, but it's a different situation for our boy DK. He missed multiple systems with no new games, so the bag of references they can pull from is way smaller.
What I'm getting at here is that there's not much of a buffer here. The Mario movie could break records on name recognition and the novelty of being the first true Nintendo movie, but the new car smell is gone now.
If Donkey Kong is going to be successful, they need every bit of critical praise they can get. Mario didn't need the approval of critics to perform well, but I'm not sure DK could pull off the same feat given the large gaps in between releases relative to Mario. And that's where Seth Rogen comes in. Bringing Point Grey into the picture could get that certified fresh sort of marketing boost to reach the heights Nintendo is hoping for at the box office. The critical acclaim of Guardians of the Galaxy helped a lesser known group of Marvel characters hit the big time. Sony was able to pull off the same feat with Miles Morales.
Let's recap. I think they could make a really good movie by leveraging Seth Rogen's production company along with the already well-established, beautiful and whimsical visuals Illumination has been able to pull off already.
I also think it's in their best interest, as they will need to come out swinging if they want to be able to make other Nintendo franchises a hit at the box office. As a fan, I'm quite thrilled at this possibility. I wasn't super familiar with Point Grey before researching this video, but I have enjoyed a lot of their work without noticing the producer credits. Now that I've made that connection, particularly to Invincible and TMNT, I'm feeling pretty bullish on the quality of the DK movie.
Now that we've covered the foundation, let's talk about what we might see in the movie.
Donkey Kong already appearing in the Mario movie has cut off a few options. We aren't likely to get a Cranky Kong origin story unless they do some sort of Jumpman insert character. This probably also removes Pauline from the equation. I mean, she could fall into the pipe below Brooklyn, but I'm not seeing it. Besides, I don't think they would want to do some sort of one-to-one adaptation of something like Bonanza. I can see them loosely referencing it, but not having it be some sort of major plot point. While I don't think Nintendo cares too much about building some sort of MCU at this point, they're clearly flirting with the idea considering how many cameos were jammed into the Galaxy movie. That means the timeline and relationships they established with the original Super Mario Bros. Movie are still in play. Cranky is the chief of Kong Society, DK is their warrior champion, and Pauline is the mayor of New York. I have trouble imagining what role she would fill in a DK movie considering she would follow the same sort of arc Mario did in discovering the magical world beyond the pipe. I'm sure there will be arcade-era references, but I have no idea how they're going to cram them in. Maybe it will be really subtle like the way that they used girders. There were also a couple of nods in the Galaxy movie, but I'll let you guys check those out for yourself. That being said, an adaptation of the arcade era would form a big split from the Mario movie, and riffing on Bonanza would create similar issues. That means one thing: they gotta be going all in on Donkey Kong Country. If being the namesake of the theme park wasn't enough, the kids who grew up on Donkey Kong Country in the 90s are starting to have families of their own. One of the core strategies with these films, per the investor meetings, is to bring generations together. I fit right into this demographic. I'm one of those kids who played the original DKC trilogy relentlessly, introduced to the character by my dad who was familiar with the arcade. Now I have a few kids of my own. I went to the theme park with my oldest son, and now he's made it all the way through Bonanza and a little bit of the retro duology.
This film could bring all of us into a theater if Nintendo plays their cards right. More importantly, it would leverage the fondness that I have for the character to create a new fan with less friction.
The torch will be passed, and if Nintendo continues to keep the Kong flame burning, the cycle will repeat itself with my kids' kids. It's a tall order trying to maintain the interest of such a wide age demographic, but Nintendo practically wrote the book on this.
I'm not trying to program my kids into liking Nintendo stuff, but I can see it happening naturally.
A bunch of children are discovering Fox McCloud and Wart for the first time, and they will do the same for Donkey Kong. A DKC movie is likely to focus on the core Kong family, something that was mentioned by Seth Rogen himself when discussing the possibility of a Donkey Kong project way back in 2023. Diddy, Dixie, and Cranky are a lock, and I would presume a bunch of cameos and side characters like Chunky, Funky, and Candy will be as well. For the villains, I think they'll work in some sort of Tiki Tong appearance to make the theme park connection, but I believe the movie has to focus on the King of Crocs. Positive reception to the Smash inclusion and Bonanza revival will drive him into the movie. They tried a bunch of other villains over the years, but none of them resonated with the audience quite like K. Rool. I think they'll lean more into his Bonanza persona, being a mad king of sorts. I could see a plot where Kongville is under siege and nearly destroyed until the Kongs can learn to work as a family. I think they would mostly pull inspiration from DKC 1 and 2, 64, and Bonanza to design the world and set pieces.
As far as actors go, I had to go consult my friend Zach, who watches a lot more movies than I do, to help build a roster here.
I previously joked about Tom Holland Diddy Kong and Zendaya Dixie, but who might they tap to fill out the cast? For Diddy Kong, they already have a voice actor in Eric Bauza, according to the Super Mario Wiki. Bauza himself said he recorded a bunch of lines early on, but the scene was cut down. He couldn't actually tell if it was his voice or not. I think that tells us they weren't sweating the details on this one. Chances of a recast are looking high, but Bauza is a talented voice actor, so who knows? those. There aren't many lines to go off of from the original Mario movie, but I think Diddy Kong sounds pretty good there. It was a good gag. If they did recast, however, Zach gave me a list and I think Kieran Culkin or Michael Cera would be pretty good fits. Zazie Beetz would be an interesting choice for Dixie Kong. She's certainly a rising star and she's got some voice acting chops from the bad guys. Don't Mind Joe also called out Kristen Schaal, which could work really well too. Funky Kong could be played by Jordan Peele or Craig Robinson. Jordan Peele has a long history in comedy and great performances in animation. Craig Robinson has been killing it in The Bad Guys as the shark. They could also cast Kenan Thompson if they really like that SNL skit. King K. Rool is probably the most consequential decision to make. You need someone who can really bring some chaotic and villainous energy to the movie. Andy Serkis or Gary Oldman would be good picks here. Andy Serkis is an incredible talent. Just listen to him read The Lord of the Rings.
Who are you? He said, thrusting the dagger out in front of him.
Or maybe you enjoyed his performance in Expedition 33.
It's a kindness, not a cruelty.
He brings gravitas to any scene he's in. Gary Oldman can flip a switch and become menacing in an instant. I loved his portrayal of Shen from Kung Fu Panda 2. And there's that one scene he's famous for that feels like the chaotic sort of evil that K. Rool brings. So that's what I hope we're getting in a Donkey Kong Country movie. I hope they've learned a lot from the Mario productions and they can tighten the screws to make this a critical and commercial hit.
I'm cautiously optimistic about it and can't wait to find out more.